Hello again, it's day 8. I'm getting I got a good vibe, not vibe, like very tired. I got a good swing of things now. I kind of know how Greece works. I know what the themes I'm looking for. It's very straightforward to me now. The Northern Macedonia thing doesn't seem to work, or no one really cares, or no one bats an eye. But when it comes to like the day-to-day activities of life, that's what counts, right? So today was different. Today I wanted to go to a different restaurant, so I went over there and I had breakfast around 8. So I got to the I got breakfast. I had breakfast around 8. And I got to the restaurant about 10 o'clock, 10:30, and I was like, I'm not hungry enough for brunch or anything like that. So I decided to walk around, and then I went for a coffee. And it got me thinking, like, hospitality is very big. Like, even Zeus, somebody told me that Zeus was sort of a god of hospitality, and he took care of foreigners, me being a foreigner. But I don't really feel welcome in Greece, and I think it's because not of the people, but the graffiti or the tags, as somebody told me. The graffiti is very off-putting. The graffiti is aimed at tourists, like to keep out. We covered a bunch of different examples in previous videos, and the more you see it, the more you realize, well, you want to pickpocket me. They have one very precisely, and I pulled a really good version off Twitter. And this one, like, a lot of people were like, oh, that'll keep people away from Exarchia, which is like the anarchist stronghold. So it has a guy, it says, no money, steal from tourists in Exarchia. Pickpockets welcome. So, like, with that, I just don't feel comfortable, like, really walking around. And you see a lot of that. Tourists go home, tourists go home. Greek state kills. Maybe they want to collapse the Greek state. I don't know. I have to talk to an anarchist, but I don't really feel comfortable doing that. I don't want to go over there and say, hey, guys. I don't think they take kindly to that. You need somebody to introduce you, and I don't know anyone to introduce me. So anyway, I got to thinking about that. So I was having my coffee, writing that stuff down, and all of a sudden, this tour group comes in, and the tour leader she's dressed loudly, I guess, so that the tourists she's guiding can see her. So she's dressed loudly, she's speaking very loudly, so I overheard everything. And we were in a nice coffee shop, and she said, we're going to have the Greek coffee, but, this is not Greek. You might know it as Turkish coffee, but it's not Turkish. It's actually Arabic in origin. And she also mentioned Armenia. She said there's a few differences, but the best way is to drink it with sugar, right? That's what she said. So she was really talking about trade, how important was trade, and she said, I am being honest, right? So, like, she's projecting this objectivity. Maybe she's like, I don't want to get into a debate. Maybe we can discuss what that really was all about. So anyway, I drank the coffee. I wrote down that note because it seems like it's almost, you have to mention it. For some reason, like, you have to mention it. I don't know why. To mention, this is a good one. Question mark. If it's neither Greek nor Turkish, why didn't you? Maybe they're trying to give a history of it. I don't know. I'm still learning. I still have a couple of days to figure it out. Then, of course, I'll do some reading when I get back. And then I made a big mistake today. I was walking along, and then these people giving out flyers. And I remember when I was in England during the time of the Brexit vote, and there were these people handing out flyers, and it was people from Labour, the Labour Party, who was pro stay. And I recall taking a pamphlet and talking to the person giving out the pamphlet. and basically the person was from Labour, but the pamphlet was pro-Brexit. Why? Because getting out of the European Union, Britain getting out of the European Union would allow workers to have increased wages, because then you make the supply of labor smaller, and so you possibly, they were thinking that you can increase wages. So these people were giving out flyers from the New Left, and so I'm like, what is New Left, Like, what does that even mean, right? So I asked them, they were gonna give me a flyer, and they said no. And then I saw something on it, and I was like, take the flyer. So I was gonna wait. I was like, hey, wait, what's that all about? Do you have an English version? And they said no. And I said, what is this? And she goes, oh, this is a flyer for the New Left. And I goes, the New Left? What does that mean, New Left? And they looked at the guy looked at me, and he was like, didn't really know what to say. So I was like, okay, so are you anarchists? And he said no. And this drunk guy was like, yeah, anarchy. And then I said, okay. He said no. So I said, okay, what does Karl Marx have to do with it? Because left has everything to do with socialism and communism. Help me to understand what's going on. And he said, what do you know about Karl Marx? And I said, seize the means of production. How does this fit into? And he said, you know what? I don't want to talk to you. And he said, I don't have time. So I pat him on the back, and I said, all right, well, thank you so much. And I walked off, but I knew it. I should have handled that differently. I should have like not said anything. But that's the thing, when it's a personality flaw. If there is a dead air, if there's a silence, I have to fill it. I don't know why. Something I really need to work on, especially if I want this project to succeed. So anyway, that was a failure. I can look at what New Left means, and I did. It basically is a pro-European left, like social democracy, kind of like what Bernie Sanders is. So they're borrowing a lot from the United States. They're split off from Syriza, which is a leftist party, which is also pro-European, which gives a whole new, trying to understand, what does that mean? What is New Left? What does left mean in the European Union? So it has a whole slew of questions. Anyway, so I finally made it to my restaurant for the day. And I saw one talking about the Constantinople tradition. Of course I had to get it. It was called the Sahanaki Karamanlidiko. So it was basically an egg with tomato sauce dish with a little pastrami in the mix. And it was telling you, well, taste the past. And it resembled an Israeli shakshuka, but the spices were different. But it was supposedly coming from the Constantinople area. And I talked to the owner. So that was my first interview of the day. Talked to the owner, and he was telling me about the Ottoman Empire and how the Greeks that came over after the swap because of the 1922, the war, which was a disaster for the Greeks, and he called it a disaster. So he was talking all about this disaster and how austerity is becoming very, it's leading to the rise of the left and the EU becoming more unpopular. And I think that's the theme. I think that's the pattern of behavior that's repeated. The issue that's repeated is this idea of the European Union is a big problem, right? It's causing a lot of problems. It's squeezing people, right? That's the impression. The business owner in Greece is getting squeezed. But basically, I think, because when I Google these dishes, it's you can't find anything on the dish itself. So is it possible that these dishes are created to kind of like an archaeology, or to reconstruct or recreate, kind of like what people do sometimes? They find like little remnants of barley or yeast or something, and they make a beer out of it, and it's like, oh, this is like the beer of what the ancient Egyptians used to drink. So is that possible, or is it a teaching tool? Are they trying to teach us, local people like the Greeks and other people, about Constantinople and the past? It's very Maybe that's the significance of it. So after a while, I was walking around some more and waiting for another appointment, which had some difficulty there. And so I realized at some point that it's better not to make appointments. It's just better to just drop in. I think that's the core of the lesson. So anyway, I went to a coffee shop to sit down, and this guy comes in, and he's loud, and he's like, angry, and I'm like, what the heck's going on? This is great. And it's basically, it was an owner of the coffee shop, and he was just livid about something. I still don't know what, but he was talking about the World Economic Forum, and I thought, man, this is kooky, but I like it. Because he spoke in English for some reason. He waffled from English and Greek. So after a while, I looked at him, like he turned around and I said, hey, what's going on? And he told me, and we sat down together, and he basically talked about how difficult it is to have a business in Greece, in the European Union. And he talked about regulations, he talked about wages going up, he talked about wage laws, he talked about how Greeks can't work more than 40 hours a week now. And I expressed concern because if you can't work more than you should be able to work as many hours as you want to put food on the table, right? And he was telling me about this. So I have to corroborate everything, obviously, but I mean, that was fantastic. So I waited a bit more, and then I decided to go home. And then on my way, I was like, I was getting hungry. And I said, I haven't had lamb this whole time. So I went ahead and I got myself some beef. Because apparently you can't get fresh lamb in Athens, right? It's something about the supply. I don't know. The owner was telling me, and then we started talking, and then he went off, and he was basically telling me how Greece is not a European country, it is a Balkan country, and we just do things differently, and we don't fit into the European Union. And I was like, oh, do tell, So I got another great interview right there. So that's 3 interviews for the day. I mean, they weren't recorded, unfortunately, but I wrote down these notes like crazy. And so I'm going to have to corroborate everything. But anyway, what I got here, I got some fries. They're probably cold by now because I had to walk 20 minutes. But anyway, here it is. So I got this do they have it in English? It's like a beef and mutton. No, not lamb, it's mutton. Beef and mutton, like kafta, or like ground beef. So a kebab of sorts. So, yeah, it's very much like, Middle Eastern style. But it's delicious. I mean, really, this is what I wanted. Because all I had was a yogurt. I had the egg dish, the Constantinople tradition dish, and then I had a cheese pie. Waiting for the interview, that never happened, but this is it. So that was a fry, a potato, and then we have, of course, some salad. It's not Greek salad because there's no lettuce in Greek salad. There's definitely lettuce in here. It's just a salad. It's very good. Everything's great. Well worth it. I worked hard today, but it's such a pleasure. It's an honor. I feel like I'm really discovering things, things like you always knew, but you never really knew, So like the European Union, we all know it's like a very difficult experiment. It really is an experiment. You have all these different countries that don't really have anything to unite them other than this idea of a united Europe, right? But Europe, it's an imagined community. It doesn't exist really because everybody's different. You're French, you're German, right? You can jaywalk in France. You cannot jaywalk in Germany. You can smoke inside in Greece. That's why my clothes, I didn't tell you this. My clothes stink of cigarettes. I don't smoke. I hate smoking. But they smoke inside. And they said no smoking, right? No smoking, but they smoke. I mean, I don't fault anybody. You do what you want. I'm not saying that. I'm not going to go up to them and say, excuse me. I'm just going to roll with it because I'm in their country, right? When in Rome, but I'm not going to smoke because I don't like it. It's a long one, huh? Yeah. But today was a good one. I'm pretty exhausted, dog. I just need some rest. And then I come out swinging tomorrow. I don't know what I'm going to do. We'll see. Should be fun. Maybe I can reconnect with that guy I didn't talk to today. That would be sweet. Anyway. Thank you very much. Field notes for day 8. Really successful day. 3 interviews. Big ups. All right. Thank you.